And in external style sheets, we have to tell to which element those need to apply. Because when you write styles inline, then you don't need selectors. So, but when you added an external style sheet, we need selectors. And selectors, primary selectors we discussed. One is type selector, another ID and class. What is difference between them? We learned about. Next, after understanding the selectors concept, now means primary selectors, we have to now discuss about rational and combinators. That is the next category. First category is primary selectors. In that, type selector, ID selector, and class selector. This we discussed. Rational selectors and or we call them as combinators. Actually, rational selectors and combinators used for generally they are used for parent. These are the selectors. These selectors are used for elements having parent and child hierarchy, or we have like siblings. We call siblings. What is that? I will show you. We will see how to handle them. What are the rational selectors we have? One rational selectors we are having. First important is rational selectors. We have a child selector. In rational selectors, we have child selector. Child selector is defined in this way. Child selector is defined like this: parent, space, child, and effects. What effects you want? Child selector is used for this, right? And child. Technically, parent and child combination is nothing but here we are using space. What is the point about this space? Space is, see, like this, we configured the space, right? Audio is available to everyone. Check your side. Who is this? Samrat. I am audible to everyone, right? Right? Online people, I am audible to everyone. Huh? Is there an issue in audio? Everyone? No problem. Right. Now, what is this space here is, this is child selector, we call them as. For example, now suppose we have parent and child means anything can be parent and child. For example, we have a div. Inside this div, we have some paragraph. These are child. Actually, suppose we have ordered list. In that we have li. So li is child. So it's not necessary that these kind of elements only parent child. Any parent container can have a child container. So here there is a div. In the div we have paragraph. Here we are writing suppose para 1 and para 2 and para 3. Now I want to apply effects here. I am writing like this: div comma p. What does this means? This means div end paragraph. Div end paragraph. That means even a paragraph is outside div. Suppose here general paragraph, right? So if a paragraph is outside div also, it will apply. That means I am writing color as red. Now you can see it will apply to everyone. Let's run this. And you will see it will apply to everyone. But I want to apply only to paragraphs which are present inside div. Then what we do? We put here, then we put here space. That means here we put instead of comma space. Space indicates apply effects to all paragraphs which are inside div. Inside div. And very important, at any level. At any level. At any level. Any level means, for example, here I will save this. You see, it is working for only these paragraphs. It is not working outside because it is parent and it is child. Any level means, see, inside this div, suppose another div comes. In that div, we have paragraph. This is para 4. Now, para 4 is not direct child of parent div. Suppose here we are having, suppose a span. I write a span. Just roughly I am writing a span. Now, what is the meaning here is, this paragraph is not a direct child of div. It is present in another container of parent. In the parent, you have another container. Now, what happens is, you see, space will apply to all of them. That means for any level it will work. That means inside that parent, inside this parent, any level it will work. So actually this is parent 1 and this is parent 2. In that we have this child, in this child. Now means just I will show you a simple diagram form. Suppose this is parent container, in that another container, in that another container. Now what you done, we have a paragraph here. We have a, this is P2. We have a paragraph here, P1. We have paragraph here, P3. Now when you apply for div space paragraph, it will apply to all. That means it refers to all of them. It will refers to all of them. At any level, it will work. At any level, it will work. And you can see that it is working at any level. All paragraphs are working. So, parent, child. That means it it applies effect at any level, of child. You have another selector called descendant selector. Descendant selector. Descendant selector is written like this: parent greater than child. What is the meaning of this is it applies only to direct child, not at any level. That means descendant selector applies only to direct child. For example, you see here now, I am writing here div, here I will put greater than. Now, who are the direct childs? Direct child are nothing but, you see, paragraph 1, 2, 3 are direct childs. Paragraph 4 is not direct child because it is in another container. So now you see that paragraph 4 is not applied. Paragraph 4 is not applied because it is not direct child. Only for direct childs it will apply. If anything is present inside, it will not work. If it is anything is present inside, it will not work. So that means inside another container. At any level it should work. Then you have to use space. Space means at any level it will work, but greater than only for direct childs. If it is present in any another child container, it is not going to apply that. So the difference between this child selector and descendant selector. Descendant selector is going to apply to direct child. So in combinators, rational selectors and combinators, these are two. One is space, another one is this. Another we have an option called siblings. That means how we can apply for sibling. Adjacent sibling. Adjacent sibling means here we have to define a element and plus sibling. What is the meaning of sibling? Meaning of sibling. What is the difference between sibling and child? Difference between sibling and child. Siblings means in general English, you have brothers, sisters. They are siblings. Brothers, sisters, they are siblings. Siblings means they born before you or after you. They are siblings. Child means they born inside you. Right? Those are child. Child are inside. And the siblings are beside, adjacent, before or after. Right? We call these as siblings. Right? That is sibling. That means what, for example, you see now. Here, I will write like this. Suppose I will put a heading. In this, I just defined heading. Okay. Here we have paragraph. Para 1, para 2, and para 3. All these paragraphs are under that heading. Now, if I write heading space para, so color red, to which paragraph it will apply? To which paragraph it will apply? What is this selector I am using now? I'm using the selector called child selector, right? I'm using child selector. So that means para 1, 2, 3 are child of heading. Child means they must be inside. Para 1, 2, 3 are child or siblings? Para 1, 2, 3 are child or siblings? Siblings. They are not child. Child means they must be inside. That is what I told you. If they are coming before or after heading finished, na? If heading finished, how they come? They can be child. Heading here finished. They are not child. What they are? Siblings. These are siblings. 3 siblings are there under this, not inside this. Under the heading, 3 siblings are there. These are not child of heading. These are siblings of heading. Now, in that case, now when I write like this, it will not work to anyone. You can see it is not working because this is child selector. Now, if I give p plus p, that means adjacent sibling that comes immediately after it. This is called adjacent sibling. Immediately after it means for which paragraph it will apply? Immediately after all paragraphs are there. Only one. Immediately after heading, which one came? Para. Every para is an individual element. Immediately after heading, which paragraph? Para 1. That means who is adjacent? Para 1 is adjacent. Para 2 is adjacent to para 1. Para 3 is adjacent to para 2. Para 2, right? That means now it will apply only to whom? First paragraph. That is first paragraph. This is generally called as sibling, adjacent sibling. That means it applies effect to adjacent element. It applies effects to adjacent element. It will apply effect to adjacent element. We call this as adjacent sibling. Understood? We call this as adjacent sibling. Adjacent sibling. So it will work only to the adjacent siblings. Adjacent sibling. Now we have general sibling. General sibling. General sibling means element tilde sibling. Like this we define. Element and tilde. That means it applies to all siblings. It applies to all siblings, not only adjacent. That means all the paragraphs that comes after heading. That means you see now here plus means it is applying to first only. I will use here another tilde. So it is used for tilde is used for applying to all. Save it. You see it will apply to all. That means plus indicates adjacent. That means only to the first paragraph. And tilde indicates all siblings, not child, for siblings, right? So that means it will apply to all. That is the combination how it works. So syntactically we write like this. That means parent space child, and we write the effects. Parent child, like this we write the effects. We have element plus sibling, we have to write the effects. So we have element and tilde sibling. So we write the effects like this. All these examples I will upload today, because once we finish selectors, these for your practice, I will upload examples. Means for every selector, one example I will upload into class, a document. You can practice them. So first important, these are under the category of rational selectors and combinators. Rational selectors and combinators. We have child, we have descendant, we have adjacent, and we have general sibling. This is very important because when you are applying effects, it should not affect everywhere. It should apply only to specific. For example, see, suppose I have ordered list item. So item 1 and item 2. Okay. I have unordered list item. We have item 1 and item 2. Now problem here is two different lists are there, but list item is same for them. That means two different elements are using same child element. That means they are using the same child element. Li is same for both of them. Then if I apply color, Li color as red, it will apply to all. I want to apply only for unordered list item. Then what you have to do? UL. So UL, and in that list item, you can apply only. Right? Now inside this, for example, unordered list item, suppose there is some another unordered list or another container is there. In that you have another unordered list. In that another list item is there, like item child, like this. It will apply to any level. Now here, later you will see the concepts here. Suppose I given like this, then what will happen? It will apply here also. Why? Because this is also unordered list now. And this is also direct child only. For example, if it is present inside a span or inside any another location, it will not apply. So these kind of situations also will come later, right? As of now, you have to understand that space is for all levels. Greater than is used for direct, and the tilde is for all siblings, and plus is used for first sibling. Later you will learn how to apply for second or third, how to apply for even or odd. Such things we will see later. For that we have other selectors. Here it is only for understanding this. Next important, in the selectors, we have another important category. We have dynamic pseudo classes. We have dynamic pseudo classes. What are these dynamic pseudo classes? Why they are called dynamic? Why we call these as dynamic? Actually, dynamic pseudo classes means, what is the meaning of dynamic pseudo and class? Actually, the word dynamic dynamic means it changes according to situation. Dynamic means it changes according to situation. That means it will not be in the same way every time. According to situation it is changing, means it is called dynamic. If it is same every time, it is called static. If it is changing situation wise, then dynamic. Okay. Then pseudo, the meaning of pseudo in English is, actually pseudo means its representation is different, but functionality is different. What it shows is not what it works. That means a pseudo representation. Pseudo representation means it is not what exactly it is showing. That means, so it is not what it is showing. It is not what it is showing. That is what we call as pseudo. Pseudo. That means, for example, suppose I use the word in HTML. Link means what? In HTML, I used the word link. Link means, is it link tag or is it a tag? Both are links only. Na? Now, link means, link means both are link only. Na? Now, link means which one? So, first one is link. This is anchor. That is anchor. But traditionally, we call it as link. That means its name is same, but it is not the work same, different. What it is representing is a false representation. You say link, click the link, but actually that is link is representing anchor. So that means its name is different, working different. That means it is showing something and in the background working something else. Its name is not exactly what it is representing. That means its name different, its representation is different. That means you showed one picture, people think that okay, this, but in the background something else is working. This is the mechanism called pseudo. Pseudo. That means why they are called pseudo? They are called pseudo because their name doesn't match to where they work. Name will be different, but working place is different. That is why they are little confusion. We call them as pseudo. Pseudo means they will tell something but work somewhere else. We expect that it will work for some other element, but it is actually working for some else element, some other elements. That's pseudo actually mechanism. You will understand. See, next option, class. What is a class? Class is nothing but it is a program template. Class is a program template with data and logic predefined. With data and logic predefined, it's a template. That means a class contains ready-made effects. A class contains ready-made data and ready-made functionality. You have to just implement and customize according to your requirement. That means a class is responsible for providing sample data and logic. You can take that and you can implement according to your requirement. That means what is advantage of class? Without writing much, you can provide effects. Why without writing much we can provide effects? Because class inbuilt contains, a class inbuilt contains some effects. We can directly use them and we can directly work with them. So what is class? Later in programming you will learn about them, because these are all programming related some terms. Class, object, OOP concepts we will see. In JavaScript we will learn. But in CSS also you have classes. Actually, class means, suppose general concept is, so generally a class contains some data and some logic. It contains some data and logic. Now what you do is you designed an element, you want to give some functionality, you don't need to write, you have to just implement this class. How to implement the class? You have to just give a colon and class name. Colon is inheriting operator. colon is inheriting operator. That means it inherits the class. This colon is inherits. If it inherits the class, this class related all members are available to this element. That means without writing much, we can apply effects, ready-made effects. That means it have inbuilt functionality. Actually, so we have to write manually. Without writing manually, we can handle by using ready-made functions that is provided by classes. So CSS provide some classes. These classes have ready-made functionality which you can implement for elements. So the meaning of this sentence is very much lengthy. That means why it is dynamic, they can change according to situation. Why they are classes? Because you don't write much, you implement inherit existing. And pseudo, their names and their functionality doesn't match. Name is different, functionality will be different. That's why we call them as pseudo. And what are those selectors we have? What are the dynamic pseudo classes? We have dynamic pseudo classes like colon. They are defined by using colon. So we have colon hover. Hover indicates, specifies actions on mouse over. Hover indicates actions on mouse over. Link, link. So specifies effect for anchor, anchor in normal state, anchor in normal state. We have visited. Some already we learned. It specifies effect for anchor in visited state. In visited state. One more we have. We have active. Active. So it specifies so actions on active state for anchor in active state. In active state. These are all the options. That means we have hover, we have link, we have visited, and we have active. So why these are classes? Because actually, if you have to control any functionality on mouse over, then we have to write lengthy logic. Lengthy logic. I will show you first. See, suppose we have a heading. So heading, okay. When I move the mouse pointer onto heading, I want some functionality. Then I need to change its color. Generally, what we have to do on mouse over change color, and here we have to write a script, and we have to write a function change color. We have to access document dot query selector. So in that heading dot style dot color as red, like this I applied. Now you see here what happens is when I move mouse it will be red. When I move the mouse onto it, it will be red. Again, when I move mouse outside, that means another function set default. In set default, again the same functionality, and we have to set it to black. We have to set it to black, and here we have to write another option on mouse out is equal to set default. This should work. That means when I move mouse onto it red color, come out black color, it will be changing. Lot of coding is required. Lot of coding is required. Now what they have done is all this coding they written ready-made. You have to just call it. They written all this code under one class called hover. Hover is a class. Now in that they have written on mouse over what to do, on mouse out what to do. They written already. Now what we have to do, this is what, this is a class. We have to implement this class on heading. Then we just access colon hover. And on hover, we will just put color as red. We don't need to write much logic now. That it means you see now here, you observe, I'm deleting all this. And I'm just keeping here heading. So hover, right? I say some heading. Now, how do we write in the styles? It's very simple now. Actually, heading, I will just put heading, colon, hover, 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 on hover, color should be red. So that means you see now, when I move mouse, it will be red and normal. Earlier, we have to manage this with a lot of logic. Now, where all this logic gone? That means without logic, it is working. No, logic is there. Behind this logic is there. Behind this logic is there. But have you written the logic? No. We are just inheriting the logic. Where that logic is already written in a class, we are just inheriting it and using it. This is improving the performance, reducing the burden in scripting, but limited. That means you can do such things only, but you want some more interactions. Suppose when mouse is over, I want to do some complex operations, then this can't do. That means it cannot do. Suppose when I move the mouse onto it, it should bring a picture, zoom the picture, rotate the picture, and change the picture dynamically. Such things difficult. Then what we do, we write by using script. But for every reason, you don't need to write for script. Write for script. You can just use this. I hope now you understood the meaning of what is class and what is the meaning of colon. Colon means inheritance operator. Colon means inheritance operator. That means this colon. So inheritance is, so it is a technique of reusing and extending code. And you inherit class by using colon operator. You inherit class by using colon operator. That is what we have to do. And hover is not only for any specific element. You can write for any element. You can write for images, links. If you remembered, already we learned for this. For hyperlinks, we already discussed. Suppose I am writing a link. So home, and I defined href is .. public some home.html. Now, very important, suppose I have a span. Okay, I have another link, href is equal to some .. sorry, http dot colon /w some pvr cinemas.com and say pvr cinemas. Like this I define. Now, very important, what happens here is the appearance will be like this. This is visited, this is not visited. And mouse over here, color is changing. But initially, basic links, underline I don't want. Then already we learned how to write anchor colon link. This indicates normal state. In normal state, I can change colors, anything. I will put text decoration as none. That is not there. underline will not be there. On mouse over, so anchor hover, text decoration I will put as underline. Then you can see on mouse over underline will come. Underline will come. I can change colors, I can put underline, I can do so many things. You can even change the size also. For example, suppose you have an image. So image, so width is 50 or 40, height also 40, image source is dot dot slash public images some shoe dot jpg. And here you can write here image, so colon hover, on mouse over, width will be 200 pixel and height should be 200 pixel. You can change so many things. On mouse over it will change. On mouse over it will change. We have a lot of other things I will tell you. We will discuss about that. Initially hover is used for this. On mouse over you can change colors, you can change size, you can change so many things. Now another option is visited. Visited link, hover, visited. Visited links color I want different. Then anchor we use visited. So anchor visited, what color you want? Color is green. Then you can see visited link color will be green. So if I click pvrcinemas.com, it will visit that PVR Cinemas website. After that, I go back, then it will be visited now. Then visited color is different, right? And active color can be different. Active color can be different. We have color, some red color. Active means what? When you hold down the mouse button on it. When you hold down the mouse button on it, that is active. That is active color. So we can add effects dynamically and define. So this all comes under category of dynamic pseudo classes. We have hover, we have link, we have visited and active. In the so many other categories also there. We will see it. See, one example I will give. I will paste this example. This example I will upload into classroom, right? You can get it from there. Here one option is there. One important option is you can control the hover timing by using transition. You can control the hover timing by using transition. We can control the hover timing by using transition. So how? For example, see now, I will do one thing to control the hover timing. See, I will keep this photo and I will keep this photo in a div class. I will give as container. Container, in that we have picture. Now observe carefully here. I am going to style. First I will put container. Container I will give as display flex, justify content center. You know this, na? Align item center. We learned this to keep the content center. If you want to keep the content in page center, exact center of page, we have to use display flex, justify content center, align item, and height. Height as some 400 pixel. Then it looks like this. That means picture will be in the center like this. Height I will just give as some 300 pixel. Then it will look like this. It will be like this now. This is the actual size, like this. Now see what happens is when I move the mouse onto it, that means img colon hover. When I move mouse onto it, generally, so we have width and height. So width I will give 200 pixel. Height I give height height I give 200 pixel. In normal, how much you want? In normal, I want width as suppose 50 pixel. and height as 50 pixel. That means before hover, it should be 50. After hover this, then you don't need to mention size here because you are writing the size in style. Okay, now you see when I move mouse onto it, then it will display like this. Now the point here is it is displayed some 300, 300. Okay, now more size will come. But how much time it is taking to transform? It is on hover. How much time it is taking? 1 second, within a fraction of second it is working. We can control the timing. We can write like this: transition as 3 seconds. That means to change from 50 to hover this, to apply these effects, it will take 3 seconds. To apply those effects, it will take 3 seconds. It will not apply immediately. Generally when you hover, everything applies immediate. Now you see, now you can see here it will be slowly zooming. But when I move the mouse outside, then it will again fast. But to go to again 50-50, again transition, I will give as 5 seconds. That means it will come little faster, will go little slower. Now you see, when I move the mouse, this is zoom, and when I release, then it will be slow. It will be slow. That means we can control the speed of the transformation. It will not be immediate on mouse over. It will not be immediate on mouse over. This is done by using transition. That means transition indicates how many seconds, milliseconds you can write. So that means when you are using hover, we can write like this. You have element, hover, and here you can write effects. You can write effects. After writing effects, you have to put transition. Transition, how many seconds? Some 3 seconds, 4 seconds, like that. Your wish. You can define anything for that. You can configure any combination for that. How much time you want for the transition, you can define it. This is basically control the hover options effects. Actually, this we already done, if you remembered, in designing some toolbars and all. In toolbars, when mouse over, its color should change, effect should change. So many things we designed like that. Right, mouse over, black color, white color will come, and all these are done by using hover. Right, this all comes under the category of element pseudo classes, dynamic pseudo classes. Next important example I will give here, timings. This example I will copy here. Okay, another important we have now 4 or 5. Right, so next important we have element state pseudo classes. Pseudo classes, element state pseudo classes. Element state pseudo classes means element have different states. What are the states for element? Suppose you have button or text box. Text box and buttons, you learnt about some states for them. What are the states? Actually, we have a state called disabled. Disabled is a state. In disabled state, what will happen? It will not allow to submit. No, it will not allow to submit. We have enabled. Enabled is opposite to disabled. And we have read only. Read only means you cannot modify. Another state, if you remembered, so we learnt about a state called, so here we have the state called checked. This also we learn. Checked state will work for radios and checkbox. For radios and checkbox will have a checked state. Enabled and disabled will be this, enabled, disabled. enabled state, disabled state, read-only state, and checked. That means according to the state of element, you can apply some effects. Because generally what happens is sometimes we cannot recognize the state. We cannot recognize the state. I will show you. Suppose what we are doing here is we have input type is equal to text and value is John, and we kept read only. When I kept read only for this, that means I said user name. And when I kept read only, it looks normal, nothing special. Whether I can modify I or not, I can't tell until I type. Because without read only also, it looks same. That means until or unless I click and type, I can't tell. So it should not be like that. We can put some effect. What we can do is we can just access this text box with ID as some user. Okay, how to access it? Hash user. This refers to text box. If this text box is so normal state, then we don't want any effect here. Here we will put a class if it is read only. If the text box is kept with read only, then we will put background color as gray. Background color as gray. So that means little light gray. Okay, light gray, light gray. Okay, light gray I will apply. Now you can see if read only, light gray will come, but currently it is not there because it is not read only. But apply read only for this and try. You apply read only, then automatically its color changes. Its color changes. That means now you cannot modify. Once you remove read only, automatically it will be normal. That means in read only state, its appearance will be different. In normal state, its appearance will be different because user need to cleanly understand. Right? You need to cleanly understand. You can actually put various messages also. We can put various messages also. Those tricks you need to understand. That means, for example, see here. So I am writing like this. Beside this now, I will put a pan. So you cannot modify name, right? Now see how to access the span beside this user. Then I can write like this. If user read only, then here I will put plus span. Plus span indicates adjacent. Beside that text box, span, right? What should happen? It should display inline. Span should display inline. Now background color should not be there here. It should display inline. If you want, you can apply background color to text box. Then what we do? Hash. So user colon, we will write one more. If it is not read only, then what should happen? The span beside it, means in normal state, the span beside it display should be none. That means the span beside the text box will not be displayed in normal state. When it is in read only state, it will display. Okay. Now you see here, it is not displaying anything. Okay, we will put read only now. We will put read only there. You can see the message comes. And you cannot modify. The message comes there. You can do one thing. You can also keep effect like this. What? Hash user. If user is read only, you can write again read only, then We can put background color as light gray. Background color as light gray. That means now both will work. It will display in light gray and it will display this message. You cannot modify. If I remove this read only, what will happen? The gray color will go and message also will not be there. Message also will not be there. If I put read only, that message will be displayed there. These kind of options we can control by using this technique. We can configure that. So that means it is read only, and you can add so many things. Suppose I said border as none. That means you don't want border if it is read only. It will be like this. We are not keeping any border. We cannot make any change now. We cannot make any change. So many things others are there, element states, we will discuss about that. That means this is option now. Now here in the element state, you can see now one more option is, this is one more is there. We say focus. Focus. Later I will tell you that. Currently we are discussing what is it? Read only. Read only. If it is read only, how you want the effects. This is example. Let's copy this example. This is for read only. Read only. Same you have to do for disabled also. For disabled, you have two techniques. What is it? Instead of read only, you have to use disabled. Disabled. So disabled means this span contains extra word. You can't modify and submit name. Am I right? Because disabled means it will not allow to submit also. It will not allow to submit. Now here we will remove. In disabled state, I will keep disabled state background color like this. If it is enabled, that means user. So user enabled. If it is enabled, background color, I will put some yellow. If it is enabled, background color is yellow. Now if it is disabled, write disabled and see. We write disabled. We write disabled, automatically it will show like this. You cannot modify and submit. Once it is removed, means enabled. If it is not disabled, it is enabled. In that, it will display like this. If I add that property, then it will not be displaying that message and showing it. So this is the example for disabled and enabled. This is disabled and enabled. I will copy this example here. This is disabled and enabled, how we can handle the state. So we have disabled, enabled, read only. Checked already we learned. You remembered checkbox I told you. Checked means green color, red color, checked, based on checked we will have. We have focus. Focus means when element gets focus. Focus means, for example, see here, I am cleaning this all. That means, for example, just for understanding sake here, we will just put a message. So I will put a message. So name in block letters only. That message I am giving. And you see here, we are displaying like that. That means when user clicks inside it, at that time I want to show that message. That means I want this message to display only when user tries to type inside it. Otherwise, I don't want to display that. So what we will do here, we will just put here hash user. So user and plus, what is it? Span display as none. When it should display, when hash user colon focus. When it gets focus, the span beside it should display as inline. Inline. If I use display block, it will come next line. Display inline means in the same line. Now you see here, I click inside, now it will show the message. I click outside, then it is hidden. That means when I click inside, then it will show that information. and I click outside, it is not. That is focus. So element have a focus state, enabled state, disabled state, read only states, right? These are element states. Based on the element states, we can display messages. We can display messages, colors, everything. We can control them. Actually, that you can manage by using focus. This is focus, how you can control. This is element state related classes. State related classes. Similarly, you have another option, element 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 validation state classes. Validation state classes, that means element have validation states. You remember? Tell me validation attributes for elements. Validation attributes for elements. What are validation attributes for elements? You remembered? Required, max length, min length, pattern, right? Min, max. Min, max are validation for numbers. Min length, max length for string. Required is for text boxes. And we have other options like pattern. Pattern is for verifying the format. All these are validations. For those validations also we have classes. Means, is it required or optional? Is it min length satisfying or not? Is it valid or invalid? For that we have classes. Depending on the validation state also, we can apply the classes. That we'll see next session. These enough today. So many are there. You have to practice them. I will upload one document. This document I will upload today. Means this document I will upload today related to CSS options. CSS related these options I will upload. CSS related styles. Yeah. Styles. This document I will upload. In this document, you will find all these basic selectors related examples. Embedded style, inline style, and CDN, and all these examples. Frequently questions, type selector, ID selector, class selector, examples. These are rational selectors, combinators with example. Right? This document I will upload where you will get everything topic wise examples. Okay. So then additional examples, classroom notes I will upload to you. Right? Classroom notes I will upload. So we will continue in the next session. Monday we will see. Okay.